Every writer is going to have their own process for polishing their work, including how many drafts they do. I'm going to explain my process because it's easy, it works, and it has fun names that you are going to remember. Hi there, I'm Kathrin Lake, author of Writing with Cold Feet. Welcome to my writing tips. How many drafts does a writer write if a writer must write drafts? I can tell you I write 5 major drafts and then some tweaks. Some people call the tweaks drafts, but they are small changes. Of course, I'm talking about writing books like novels or memoirs, but the process isn't that different for writing shorter forms. My 5 drafts are called my tough draft, my rough draft, my buff draft, my beyond the buff draft, and finally my final draft, which isn't completely that final, as we will see. Let's get started.
The tough draft.
I think of my drafts like they're moving from childhood through adolescence into adulthood, going to college, and finally graduating and leaving home. We start with my tough draft. It is what others would call their first draft. Anne Lamott calls it her shoddy first draft. What does my tough draft look like? It will have notations and comments throughout. There will be my XXX search marks throughout that tell me there is something I need to add, usually description, in other words. Anywhere I am sure I will add more, subtract more, research more, or sometimes believe I will have to rewrite an entire chapter or two, or add a TBD, to be determined, if I'm really that lost at that point. The notes are places for writers' ABCs. That means where I will add, better, or cut. The real point of my tough draft is to keep writing the story according to my outline, more or less, even if it has some minor holes, until I am at what I deem is the end of the story. So really, this is my story draft. Typically, I am using Google Docs or Word track changes and using the comment tools as well as my own notes within the manuscripts. So it looks like this. In short, it is a mess, and why I call it my tough draft. And then there is my rough draft.
The rough draft.
My rough draft is a cleaned up version of my tough draft. I've filled in all the notes, edits, major rewrites, but I have not yet fully polished it yet. It is where I have done my ABCs, my add, better, and cut, but there is more to do, and maybe a few notes are remaining still, but it is far more complete. I may also begin to add any graphics or photos in this draft to get ready for
The buff draft.
As you might guess, the buff draft is where I will do polishing and will add any essential graphics. This draft must be good enough to release to my beta readers. Now, I will do a video about beta readers in the near future, but suffice it to say, these are 5 to 10 handpicked individuals who read the draft with my instructions. Beta readers are asked to note things like where the book dragged for them, anything they didn't understand or had to reread. And for a novel, I am asking beta readers for story and character feedback. Was the story engaging? Did they want to know what happened next? What scenes or which characters did they like the best or the worst? Inevitably, a long form book such as I am giving to my beta readers, they will find typos, they will find grammar mistakes, awkward sentences, redundancies, incorrect verb tenses, or unexplained terms. I'm not asking them to find them, they just do. Yes, the more eyes on your work, the more they will find. I completely rely on the insights and kind ruthlessness of beta readers. So the buff draft goes off to the beta readers and then comes back.
Beyond the buff.
Beyond the buff draft is the draft where I have rewritten it according to my beta readers' feedback, as well as generally polishing the work again. We are also adding what they call in the trade front matter and back matter. Often we have already added these because they are similar from my last book, but now I review them, customize them, and update them. What do they include? The front matter is in the front of the book. The title page and copyright page, the dedications, any author notes. In nonfiction, you may have a foreword by somebody else. Sometimes you see reviews in advance, etc. Everything you have probably already seen this and know it yourself. The back matter is at the end of the book. It is the author's photo and bio, maybe their web and social media links. It has the pitch to favorably review this book, please. The list and links of the author's other books. If it's nonfiction, and sometimes fiction, you may need to include an appendix, a glossary, and endnotes, and citing your research references. When your manuscript is really looking like a manuscript, then you're on to the next stage, which is to send it to editors or proofreaders for what they laughably call
The final draft.
when editors and proofreaders are done, if you're lucky to have both, you, the author, will have to go through their notes for you to make choices and changes. And then you're done.
Yay! Yay!
Well, it's still not the end. You then have to hand it over to your interior designers and formatters to create a true final draft for both the paperback and the ebook. And don't get me started if we want to talk about audiobooks. That's another video for another day. But let's talk a little more about these others that you get involved in this final draft stage. Let's talk about proofreaders and editors. Many people may think, why would I get a proofreader when I've got an editor? The simple answer to that is editors don't proofread. Copy editors focus on grammar, sentence structure, verb tenses, and make the text flow better. And you will have enough to do to check their notes. Yes, editors will correct typos if they spot them, but for the long form, no one catches all the mistakes, like extra spaces, two periods, missing the closed quotes, quote make marks, and all those sort of things. Professional proofreaders are not even as good as just having many eyes on the text. So many authors are opting for more readers versus a pro. An old school proofreader, though, did tell me that they were taught to go through the manuscripts from the end to the beginning. Why? So backwards, basically. Why was because otherwise your brain will follow the narrative and will fill in the gaps and often miss things. I thought that was pretty clever. But that takes a lot. And after the editor and any proofreaders, what about those interior designers and formatters? Well, you can do your own very simple interior design for your paperback, but working with an interior designer can be really worthwhile for your end product. This is a sample of a table of contents that my designer for Writing with Cold Feet did, where she made 5 secrets, the 5 secret, into keys versus a plain, boring table of contents. So it's your choice. A designer will do many other beautiful flourishes and graphics. Most interior designers can be formatters and will also format your ebooks and make sure all the links are working. You will still have to check their work, just like you have to do for editors. Even traditionally published authors have to check everything. Why? Because you care the most. No one else will notice what you notice. This is all about creating a final draft that will be uploaded in appropriate electronic files for publishing. But what about,
Beyond publishing.
will more mistakes be found after publishing? Always. As I said, the more eyes on the text, the more things will be found that includes not your beta readers, your real readers. But because of the miracle of technology of on-demand publishing, those things can be corrected soon enough and perpetually throughout the life of the book. So this is my entire process for creating drafts for books. The tough, the rough, the buff, and the beyond to the final draft and beyond publishing. Hope that is helpful. Now, go forth and write. Subscribe to this channel for more writing tips, and be sure to check out our free ebooks and affordable online writing courses at victoriaschoolofwriting.com.